It seems Nkandla and money back to haunt the former president. You may remember at the time when Jacob Zuma was facing questions about how he paid for his home and alterations. He mentioned family, but then he mentioned that he had a bond. It emerged it was with VBS Bank. That bond was issued around 2016. Well, today, in the Daily Maverick publication, journalist Paulie van Wyk says the bank can now seize 6.5 million rand of his assets to pay back that bond. You'll remember, of course, VBS was essentially looted. It collapsed. It was under curatorship and then liquidated. Paulie van Wyk joined.
Was deputy president. He was deputizing a crook, President Jacob Zuma.
So you're saying you believe that the then deputy president of the time, President Cyril Ramaphosa, knew about the allegations at VBS?
I believe it. There is no way he could have acted, because VBS, in the context of what was happening then, was actually in cahoots with Jacob Zuma. So if you look at the reports and all the links that have been drawn, Jacob Zuma has been part of the VBS looting. Even the loan, inverted commas, that he got when he was in trouble came from that bank. So if Cyril Ramaphosa had done anything, his head would have been chopped by Jacob Zuma. So what would have been the logical thing to do for Cyril Ramaphosa, even if he knew, would be to keep quiet, because his boss was involved in the VBS looting.
The Pietermaritzburg High Court has ordered that VBS Mutual Bank can seize former President Jacob Zuma's assets to repay a loan worth 6.5 million rand. Zuma took out the loan after he was ordered to pay back the money for non-security upgrades made to his Nkandla homestead. His contract with VBS Mutual Bank stipulated a monthly payment of 70,000 rand over 240 months. He started defaulting on his payments in 2018, forcing the bank to seek assistance from the courts. The Nkandla farm itself cannot be attached as it's built on land owned by the Nkandla Trust. The Nkandla Trust is responsible for the administration of all the land that belonged or was owned by the KwaZulu-Natal government. The court has ordered that movable assets can be seized. This includes things like furniture or cattle. The court order also states that Zuma must pay back the money together with interest on the 6.5 million rand at the rate of 10.25% per annum from the 31st of August 2019 to the date of the final payment. He's also ordered to pay the costs of the application on an attorney and client scale.
That money, Nkandla money, must be paid. You can't hide behind presidency. Pay back the money. Pay back.
Anush Rupal as the curator, he started rounding up the money, and he started doing the same that he's been doing now, trying to recoup the money from former President Jacob Zuma with other people as well. So in last year, he already submitted papers to court in an attempt at getting the Zuma money back. Today, the court in High Court in Pietermaritzburg granted the order and said that all realizable assets of Mr. Zuma can be taken. It's important here that the house or the property itself cannot be seized and sold, because that stands on Nkandla Trust land, and the land cannot be taken away from the trust. So any other movable assets now belongs to the curator until the debt of around 6.5 million rand has been paid.
So what's likely to happen now, Paulie? Because I mean, you and I were chatting before we went to air. Imagine who's going to walk up to the gates of Nkandla saying, we've come to seize your furniture. Is this realistically going to happen? What's the next step?
Well, it should happen, and if anyone has any regard for the law, which I do feel that Anush Rupal is that kind of guy, someone needs to rock up there and say, we're going to take some assets. It is very interesting though, and I would be interested to see if there are any real assets left by the time Anush comes there, because this also gives anyone the chance to remove assets that's on Nkandla or at the farm. But in essence, the cattle, the furniture, anything that can be sold is now fair game.
Could the former president challenge today's order?
No, it was a default judgment, and therefore it would be close to impossible for him to challenge it now belatedly. Default judgment means that he didn't partake in the court proceedings, and therefore default judgment was given against him.
So on Tuesday, the Pietermaritzburg High Court in KwaZulu-Natal issued an order requiring the former President Jacob Zuma to reimburse the money used to refurbish his Nkandla homestead. In September of 2016, the former president took out a loan with the now defunct VBS Mutual Bank to cover debt resulting from non-security enhancements made to his Nkandla property by the state. We now speak to VBS Mutual Bank board and shareholder spokesperson, Madambi Molawa. Thank you very much for availing yourself, sir, this morning. What happens now?
Good morning.
Good morning to you. So what happens now? What's next in the process?
So what happens is that since the bank has been put under liquidation, a liquidator has been appointed, and we as shareholders and investors, we knew and expected that this liquidator, his purpose is to collect all the assets of the bank, and so that at the end of the day, whatever remains can be distributed to the investors, depositors, and shareholders. That's what we have been expecting from the liquidator. And the source of those assets, according to us, we expected that they would be coming from those who have stolen some of the assets, and that is the group which is under investigation by the law authorities. And another group is the physical assets that the bank have got in its possession. And the third group is the money which people have borrowed from VBS. And amongst those borrowers, there's Jacob Zuma. And we were expected that because they have signed the contract for that period to repay back the money, because they didn't steal the money, they would continue with their commitment in honoring their installment. But those who default, it is our expectation that the liquidator will do everything in his power, including taking legal steps to recover what is owed to the VBS. And now what we understand is that Mr. Zuma defaulted, and as a result, the liquidator had to follow that process of approaching the cause to give him permission to recover the money by means of selling the assets. And this gives us hope and trust to the liquidator that he is doing his job properly, because at the end we expect that whatever he collects will be distributed amongst the crying people who have lost their money in VBS, as he has done so in the past, when they first get the first bench of 100,000 rand. And now recently they have also, each and everyone have got something, though not much. But we expect that if Mr. Zuma pays the money, that money will help increase the amount which will be paid back to the poor people who has lost money. So we expect that as a leader of the country and as a person who loves his people, he will do so, because that is not to help the liquidator. It's to help that, the people who lost money get some of their money.
Mr. Mubulawa, as you rightfully mentioned that the liquidator is tasked with collecting all the assets of the bank, if you could just remind us how much we are talking about in total that you're hoping to recoup from all these groups that you have mentioned.
What has been borrowed to the people, according to understand, is more than 250 million. So that's according to how we understand. What has been stolen, we don't know. What the amount of the physical assets, we don't know. But we expect that the liquidator, when bring all those together, we will be able to get a reasonable amount of what we have lost.
As you rightfully mentioned, we're also made to be aware of loans for cars and houses that were almost never repaid. Are you able to tell us about other figures or other names that you are possibly hoping to get large sums of monies from?
No, remember, the information of the person borrowing the money from VBS is confidential. Even if we know some of them, we cannot reveal that. The case of Mr. Jacob Zuma, why we mention is because it has come public. Otherwise, if you asked me before it came public, I would have never revealed that information, because that is the secret between the bank and the borrower.
Thank you very much, sir, for availing yourself this morning. VBS Mutual Bank Board and Shareholder Spokesperson, Mr. Madambi Moburawa.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dr. Jones. Why not TV? Please subscribe. Bye for now till we meet again next time. Subscribe, please. Don't forget to like and to comment. Thank you very much. Dr. Jones, Why not TV? Mutsonga wa Shiviri from Limpopo. Goodbye till we meet again next time. Subscribe.